it used to be in the old days.
How were the old days?
Yeah, when bands could play and they could actually sing and they could perform and do the job.
I've heard stories about that. It was a time back in the old days, back in the
Yeah,
caveman days, when that was a real
yeah,
thing.
yeah. We only wore these. Well, we had animal skins on us.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Animal skills, these caveman.
Leather in the old days, leather. It
Leather and
was.
spandex.
Yeah, oh my God! Now you're really talking the old days. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
You miss those days?
Yeah and no.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's
we can say that in the late '70s, when I first started playing in Rapid Tears, we were like a heavy metal, progressive metal band, like Maiden turned out to be, right? And we'd never had the spandex stuff. It hadn't come yet. And then
hmm.
all of a sudden, '83, '84, all the hair bands came in, so we had to adapt, and it was the worst thought, and it was the worst thing in the world. We went from, leather and studs to putting on white spandex pants and ripped nylon shirts, and it was nah. I quit the band a year later.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, no,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, the last time we talked a lot about Killer B, which was your band in the late 80s, early 90s up until I don't know if it's still going on. We can talk about that too. But the last time we talked a lot was about the single that you released under your own name, which was It's Not the End. But since then, the pandemic hit and lots of things changed. Everybody didn't do anything for a long time. And the next thing I heard from you, Brian, is that you had this band, which I'm going to show off the CD thing for people watching video right now, Syndicated
yeah,
Madness. That's your new
yeah,
project. I want to hear
yeah.
how that started and what got that idea off the ground, man.
Well, it's kind of a roll off from my solo project. It really is my solo project, but I have a new partner that I'm working with, Pelle Karlsson, over here in Sweden.
Yeah.
And well, basically, we had a bunch of songs from back then. I had a bunch of songs from back then also. And we put a bunch of new songs together, and we wanted to collaborate with different musicians from different music genres and try to, get different inputs happening. Pelle himself is from a band over here called the Boppers, which was a rockabilly band.
No, nice.
He was a very, very famous player in Sweden, actually. He's played with the list of names just goes on and on. He's played with everybody you could ever think of, from Sinatra to
Oh,
top
wow.
Swedish. Yeah, he's like one of these prodigy childs. At 7 years old, he was on the road with his father. It's totally crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, his music abilities, but his rockabilly side of it didn't really translate into the music that we're doing. But his ability to hear things and that has brought a lot of new things. He wrote "It's Not the End" with me actually back then. He plays all the instruments on that song, as well as on "All by Myself," the Eric Carmen song there.
Yeah. Oh, wow. He's on that. That's cool.
Yeah, and he plays everything on it. Every instrument, every sound, everything happening on there. The thing is that, as you said, with the pandemic, it was like I was going for the solo project. Pelle was involved in his own stuff, and I was going for the solo project. But then it felt like people's minds just aren't there right
Hmm.
now. And I figured I'd take a break. I'd take a break like everybody else was doing. And then late last year, or the middle of last year, was time. Well, let's put this out and see what happens. It's a funny world out there now with the digital world and the internet that's been happening the last 5 or 8, 10 years for music. I mean, so you kind of just gotta put it out with a wing and a prayer, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
But, but at this point in my life, I do the music because I love to do it, not for the dream of being some superstar rock star. It's more like do music you love, get it out there. Hopefully, people love it as well. You
Yeah,
know.
exactly. Was Pell involved with you doing a version or some kind of project towards with Killer B as well, or is this a brand new thing with between you and him? I don't
Actually,
remember.
Pelle and I, nay, we sorry, a little Swedish popped in there. We've been working together since what 2007. Pelle and myself. I did a solo project back then also, which never saw the light of day. But he did do some work with Killer B as well. He did
Okay, I thought
some
so. Yeah.
organ playing in that on the last Killer B album,
Okay.
and that.
Because I think we touched on that last time as well too. Because you were kind of still involved doing Killer B. Is that kind of done right now? And Syndicated Madness is your focus. Where would you say that is?
Well, Syndicated Madness is my focus. Killer B is kind of like it's in the blood, you know. Syndicated Madness is in my soul, but Killer B is part of my life for the last 30 years. So I don't think it'll
Right.
ever really go away. That we're taking a break right now for the last 3 or 4 years is, or what is it now? What year is it?
Maybe.
23?
Yeah. Maybe
So
4 or 5.
4 or 5 years
Yeah.
since we put anything out, right? Five
Yeah.
years since we put anything out. So but we talk, my partner and I, Anders, we talk every second day or so. So we're still in great touch with each other. He's doing his own solo works right now. And when I think when we both land from what we're doing now, Killer B will put out another album eventually.
That's good to hear. But for now, the Syndicated Madness is good. I hope you keep going with this because I've heard many of the songs on here. I got, of course, the record here, but Come On, the first song. But the first song I heard, of course, was It's So Easy. But after that was Hold It High, was another great, great, great song. There's a lot of great singles that you released since then. So talk to me about how you came up with the name for it. And then you said he played all the instruments. You did the singing. You wrote the songs, the lyrics. How did it all come together after It's Not the End? Or the redo of
Well,
It's Not the End?
well, that's the point. That's not the end. Was where we started working together, and I had a bunch of songs that I had recorded earlier, so we redid some of those. That's like "It's So Easy," "Come On," "Hold It High." Just got to look at the names here. Anyways, a bunch of those songs that I had done earlier, so we redone them with other musicians as well. As I said, Syndicated Madness is a project that's based on Pelle and myself, and we take in whoever wants to play. He has a lot of contacts, I have a lot of contacts, and our band is kind of a floating entity. You know, we have
Right.
musicians available if we decide that we want to take it on tour. If we get enough interest that we can actually take it to tour it, then we'll put a band together with some of the people that have played, some of the people that we know, and go out and do it. So the roll off, as I said, from It's Not the End, led to us bringing in a bunch of other songs and a couple covers. I Just Want to Celebrate, the old Rare Earth song, one of my favorite songs of all time.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Um, uh, All by Myself, another great song. We wanted to throw in these songs into it and not just do the original stuff, but I want to do in the next few years and the next records we do. I always have a couple of covers that are from like my upbringing. What inspired me?
Hmm.
I Just Want to Celebrate was one of those songs that was like so big over there when I was living in Toronto, and it was like just thinking
Yeah.
about it now, way back in the days is great stuff. So there will be more music coming. Who plays on it? I don't know. Pella will be playing on it, of course. We have a bunch of new songs that we're working on right now, and we've got a bunch of cover songs that we're actually planning to maybe do some sporadic releases that maybe not make it to an album in the future, but just some, songs that inspired us through our ages.
Yeah, yeah, I got you. You did a video, I think you've done lyric videos, but I think you did a full-on video for It's So Easy. That's the one video you did for the album, correct?
We have four videos for the album, 4 albums for the video. Yes.
Okay, okay. I've seen It's So Easy. That was the first one though, right?
It's So Easy. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the first one, and then we did the video for It's Not the End, which
Yeah,
is
yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
kind of a redo from the last video. We just took away all the morbid genocide stuff that was in there because I didn't
Yeah.
feel I wanted to make people think about that anymore. We got enough shit happening in the world.
Yeah, I
We
remember that.
we got a video for Come On, which is the lyric video that we just put out.
Yep.
We have a video for uh, I can't remember the names
Hold
of
It
my
High.
own.
Was there a
No,
lyric video for that? I think Hold It High.
no, that's not it. The Ride, for the
Okay.
Ride.
Oh, yes. Yes, the ride. Okay.
That's
Yeah, I have it right
that.
here. I should look and I could look at it too. But the
Yeah.
first one after, okay, let's say It's Not the End you redid, but for It's So Easy, how was the shooting for that video? Because I love that one where you're kind of going through the docks and you're kind of walking around the beach. It looks like that's cool. How did you shoot that? How did that come together?
Well, I have a partner over here that we work on video productions for different things, commercial videos, things like that for camping, fishing, outdoorsy. We live very far north here in Sweden, so we do a lot of outdoor stuff. And he's done a lot of the videos for Killer B as well. And we just talked one day and said, let's go shoot. And he basically shoots all of my videos now. So we were down at we live very close to the ocean here, so it was just like, let's go find a place. So we found an old, basically storage area that hadn't been used in a while, and just shot it basically. Then we got a hold of some of the musicians that played on the record, and they shot their stuff remotely, and we edited it together, put it out.
Yeah, it looks very good, and got a good response. Do you think? Did people get into it, from what you can tell?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's got the most response. That one, and It's Not the End, has got the most response. Even though our numbers are very low, we're still an unknown band, I guess you could say. Even though I maybe have had my career things with Killer Bee and other things that I've done, I haven't really gone out and promoted the shit out of this one here. I just basically put it out because I want to. You know,
Yeah,
so it's if I was to look at what the response of the videos are, it's getting a good response. People like it.
yeah. Well, it goes
I
back
think
to
it's
yeah, me too. It goes back to what you said, though. It's hard to get your foothold, especially at this day and age when there's so much going out there. There's so much people putting so much music out there, some of it good, some of it not so good. It's hard to get that sustained response and people to notice it in a mix of everything. You got to keep putting it out there. I know you're always promoting it. You're always talking about it. You're always sharing it. You're always having people talk about it and share it themselves and letting people know that Syndicated Madness exists. So you're a one-man operation when it comes to that, but you're doing a good job to get it out there and you just keep pushing for it.
That's basically all you can do, right? I mean,
Yeah.
unless you want to go down that road where you pay a label so they'll put you on their listings, shit
Yeah.
like that. Like, nah, that's like, if I got to pay you to do it, it's like, forget it.
Yeah, you can just do it
Really,
yourself.
no, but really, I mean, okay, like I say, I'm old school. I come from, like, my first record deal was in '79, right? And
Wow.
so at that time, you got some money, or at least you got production assistance, and you got some support, even if it wasn't what you really wanted. If it was an independent label, you still got some assistance. Nowadays, it's pay to play in every facet of the business.
Yeah.
You almost have to pay to get up in the morning. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Well, nowadays I do pay to get up in the morning, but okay.
Yeah, exactly. When you guys wrote the record, when you guys got together, did you all actually get together in the same place, or did you send parts here and there? Is he close to where you are, Pell, or is there
It's about an
back and
hour
forth
away.
file transfer? Okay, so did you guys get
About
together
an
in
hour
one
away.
place, or did you send it over the
A
line, or
lot of our, a
how
lot
to
of
get
the work,
creative?
yeah, yeah, a lot of the work done is basically done remotely. I mean, even though we're close together, I can. The great thing about working with a guy like Pelle is I can just say, I'm looking for this, or this feeling, and then a week later he'll send me up some tracks, and they're like exactly what I was thinking.
That's
Give or
good.
take a little shift here and there. So it really works well together. And because we're not always playing with a full band. I was going to say a full deck of cards, but I'll say a full band.
Maybe both.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
because we're not always playing with a full band, it often ends up that he'll send up the ideas. I'll do the vocals on them after I've done some scratch vocals, and then he'll pull in. He has a studio, I have a studio, so he'll pull in some musicians down in his studio, maybe do some drums with them. I'll pull in some guitar players up here and bass players and other vocalists if I want that on the songs, and we put it all together that way.
that's cool.
So a lot of it is remotely. It's kind of an unfortunate thing that that's the way music has gotten today, but I do miss the days when you used to sit in a rehearsal room and
Jam
write your song.
ideas, put them together with different
Yeah,
people right
right.
there in front of your face. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, tell you the truth, I don't remember the last time I really did that. That's really a shame. It's
Probably
really a shame.
been maybe would have been when you're still in this neck of the woods, maybe when you're still in the Toronto area, when you're still doing
No,
Killer
no,
B.
no. When I was in Sweden, we were doing it a lot. I mean, up
Okay.
until around the turn of the century, I guess you could say.
Wow. So
2000.
long ago, yeah.
I can use
The
those
world
words.
turned. Yeah, the turn of the century is when
Yeah,
everything changed and then
yeah,
changed
no, but I
again.
mean, we had taken a break from Killer B, as we said before, right? And
Yeah.
so that little pause when we got back together with Killer B, it was basically songs were already written. So it was more like just get together with the band and learn them and play them, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I write my vocals, Anders writes the music. He has a pretty good idea what he wants. I do all the production. So it's basically, okay, this is what we're going to do. Then we get together with the band. It's not like writing a song with a band where you got 5 or 6 or 4 individuals together and you're all, you know, brainstorming ideas, and some suck and some are great. And who wrote it? Everybody, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Everyone got
That's,
together and did it. Yeah.
So it is kind of unfortunate that today's world, I guess I'm part of the living room artist culture now.
Yeah.
You know, got your
You're gonna,
studio in the corner, and
are you gonna do a live stream eventually from your living room, playing some songs?
I'm doing one right now.
Oh, there you go. It's not live though.
No, I
Doesn't
know.
have to be.
Actually, some of those things will be
You need to
happening.
pre-record your vocals first, man.
Yeah, yeah, exactly,
Get those
exactly.
get those songs perfect. Get the mimes down correctly. It's like a video,
Yeah,
but you're doing it live.
I'll get my I'll get my house pets to come and play the drums and the
Yeah,
guitar
exactly.
and stuff.
Electronic drum sound and everything you got. Yeah, some
Exactly.
synthesizers. You got it.
Duracell Rabbit on drums, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And sing along to playback.
yeah. You gotta do what you gotta
No,
do.
we actually been speaking to Pelle about doing some acoustic sits, maybe reinterpretations of some of the songs and more of a unplugged atmosphere or whatever. Whether we actually do something with full band setups, I think that's coming in the future as well. We have some. I'm working on the possibility of doing big stage video right now for the band. Put together, the full lighting and everything. It won't be from a real live show. I'm sorry to expose that truth, but I'm sure everybody would know that when they saw it.
Well, at least you're
Um,
honest about it too. That's the thing too. Is one thing to do it, not be honest about it, and just make it look like it's a live production or a live show, and it's a canned one. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
which
yeah,
which
no,
people have done too, but not everyone's honest about it. Let's put it that way.
sure. We can always use, some live audience takes from Guns N' Roses or Motley Crue or whoever.
There's some
Just
fake live crowd sounds that come in
yeah, exactly,
to cheer everything you do. Like, wow, Brian, Brian,
exactly,
Brian, to scream your name.
exactly.
You can do what you
We're
want
working.
now. Hmm.
I got a production company up here that I've been working with back in the Killer Bee days, and so we talked about maybe we should put together a big scene and just do how we know it would be if we were on the big
On
stage.
stage, yeah, yeah. Would it be like a rundown of basically all the songs on the record, or most of them, or in some of your favorite covers? Would it be just like
There'll
that would be
probably
the
be
set
some
list?
covers, probably be some covers, and most of the songs off the album, the ones that can be tackled live
Yeah, yeah. I got you.
or pseudo live.
Yeah, pseudo live, the ones you can get to. Yeah.
Yeah,
What was the plan before this all started? When you were going to do the solo thing, where it was Brian B. Frank, you were releasing "It's Not the End," and you had that big video you mentioned before with the political
genocide.
message for the genocide. Yeah. What was the plan if nothing had changed with the pandemic or otherwise? What was your original goal, if you can say, for that?
You probably would have seen. It's a good question because the direction has changed a little bit, but I think that what you got on Syndicated Madness is a lot of what I am, and I'm sure that the solo project would have ended up pretty similar to what this is. But
Yeah, that's kind of why I asked that question, because I figured like this would be the if this didn't have the name Syndicated Madness, it would have had your name, and it feels like it would have been your songs, but just with your name. This would have been a continuation of that. That's the impression I got when I got it.
and and so it is. That's what I mean. It would have been very similar to what this is, but yeah, I can go out and call it Brian B. Frank and hallelujah to me and good
Pat on the
job,
back.
Brian. But it's I don't know, man. It's kind of not my thing. I like the fact of, we got other players involved, and so I'll call it by a name, and that therefore the syndicated, as you know, is the syndication of people around us. And the craziness is just that who's involved, who knows, and are you crazy enough to want to do this? And
It's a
I'm
great
not.
name. It's a great conversation piece too, and it's a great name to come up with too. It's really cool. It really gets your
Thanks.
attention because you can wonder what that means exactly. Syndicated, does that mean it's everywhere around you? Is it syndicated? Can people find it like a syndicated show, right? And madness. Well, what do those two combination of words mean together? That's a very cool thing.
Well, I guess if you look at the world right now, it is pretty syndicatedly madness,
Yeah.
mad.
Well, exactly. Yeah. When I saw that when you came out with that title, I thought, well, that's exactly what's going on right now. That's a perfect world statement for today,
It is actually when I
whether you
didn't
wanted to
realize.
or not. Yeah.
No, I wasn't even on my mind at the time. I was more thinking about that. I have had the syndicate and syndication and stuff on my brain for a long time because I realized that I'm not going to be, that I have a lot of contacts that I want to explore with people playing, and I figured that it will be a syndication of musicians at the end of the day, at
Yeah.
the end of every record. I can assure you that on the next record, most of the musicians on this record won't be on the next one because they'll be doing their own thing and they won't have the time, or they, whatever the case may be. So Pelle will always be there, and I have some new players I'm looking at for that. We've been doing a bunch of different feel outs and the tracking and see how it goes. So that's the whole point behind the syndicate. But the madness, I think, is just in my own brain.
It's everywhere
That's
around
all.
you too. Yeah, there's a reason. If it is, there's a reason why. It's what you've been exposed to.
For that. Yeah.
Was there a plan as well for that? Were you going to come, I guess, stateside, can't like this North American side, to do some shows at that point too? Was that kind of in the works at the time, if I remember from our last
Back
conversation?
then, yes, for the when it
For
was
you
supposed
or
to.
what you were doing?
Yeah. That we had been working on. We had been talking with Mark down in
Yeah,
Florida.
Mark and
He
Bensky.
was
Yep.
Yeah, he was putting some people together, and we were talking about it. It wasn't Nothing had developed into a
Right.
held into this
There was
is
nothing
gonna.
set in stone. It was nothing like there was no tour dates. There was no, nothing was booked. Right.
Not at that point, but it was definitely something that we were looking at, and I was looking at across, mostly in Canada. Also, I mean, I, I have a lot of contacts from way back. How many of them are still in the business? I don't know, but a lot of
Yeah.
players that I know that I was thinking I go over and put together some people and we go do some shows. What kind of level it would have been on, or whatever, I might have just been treated as any other cover tribute or wannabe original band coming out there. But the idea was to do something. But then the pandemic screwed everybody.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. They got right in the way. Plus, it's expensive. It's expensive to travel. You're in Sweden, for people that don't know, and coming all the way over here is costly on its own. And then putting a band together, going out every night, playing clubs or wherever, it's syndicated madness at that point.
Exactly. You have
Yeah.
to you have to take all those things into account, and hopefully some of the players that I would be getting involved with would understand the situation, and we would, if I wanted to go out west, I got players that are out west that I've played with back in the 80s. If I wanted to play the Toronto area, Ontario area, I have players there. So it doesn't always have to be the same band. And again,
Right.
that's part of the syndication for me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind if I had to go wherever it might be. I'm sure that through the years of my accumulating people, or that's the wrong word, the wrong way to put it, of meeting
Establishing
people.
connections. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. You're
Yeah.
helping me with my English already. See,
That's right. I could be a lyricist.
I'm thinking
Yeah, exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
Now, but establishing those connections, I'm sure that a couple of phone calls and I could have a few players here and a few players there to fill the rosters. So that's kind of what I want.
Hmm.
It's I don't know if the record does as I would like it to, if the fans would appreciate that, or if they would want to see a firm band. But I would hope that in today's mentality, they might understand that this is the way the world works right now. And if if we can watch some guy, I'm sorry, I was watching the CNN TikTok hearings today. If we could watch some
Oh
guy
god.
on TikTok and he can be a superstar, right? Or we can see a YouTuber that becomes a superstar, we must be able to accept that us old farts that have been around forever in the business can at least can put out our stuff and don't necessarily have to have a complete band that is the unity, that is the face of the music. That I can be the face and I can go out and find the musicians to play with as long as I deliver the music to them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for
So
sure.
hopefully they would be able to understand that. But I guess we'll see what happens.
Depending on where you play, especially when you're talking about Canada, I think if you were to do that, you would probably, again, depending. I don't know how far your reach was or what you did in the heyday of Killer B, or where the central pocket outside of Toronto was, but you would have to put in some of those songs, I believe, in your set if you played this region. I would assume
Have to put in some of
Killer B songs if you're in
and
this
that
region. I would assume.
yeah, and I wouldn't be against that. I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
That's it's almost a given. I mean, as I said, the Killer Bee was a large part of my life. Um, while it may be on the back burner right now, it's still simmering. You know what I mean?
It's still there. It's
And
not, you haven't shut the door. You still have Anders. You still have you still have the desire to do it at some point. But Syndicated Madness, which it should be because it's good. I really do believe this should get a fair shake. The Syndicated Madness should be put in the forefront right now. I do think.
Well, the thing is that I come from, like I was saying earlier, the early 70s is my influences, and this 80s music style, which is what Killer Bee really does a lot. It's a lot of that 80s hard rock style,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Whereas I come a little bit longer back. My influences go from Sparks to Bowie to Genesis to Aerosmith to Deep Purple to Alice Cooper to
Max
all those
Webster.
bands that. Oh, absolutely love Max.
Yeah.
Love Kim.
Yeah.
Great. Used to watch them all the time. Remember when they opened for Rush at Massey Hall? Things
Oh
like
wow.
that.
Amazing.
But also, my school of rock was Maple Leaf Gardens Varsity Arena, the Ontario Place Forum, and
Yeah.
I spent my almost, well, forming years of my teen years in concert halls. My point is that the 80s music that comes from that came out with the Killer Bee compared to what this is, Syndicated Madness, I hope that it reflects a little bit more of the 70s style of rock music and more of the straight ahead. It's not really riff rock. It's got its riffs, but the production lends to be a little bit more loose and doesn't matter if it's all totally on or not. And it's just kind of like, it's not a jam, but it feels like it could be if it wanted to
Yeah,
be.
yeah, yeah. That's the impression I got too. Like, I'm not a musician, obviously, but like songs like "Come On," like the latest one that got released. I think that's the latest one. That sounds very 70s. "Hold It High" has a kind of an 80s chorus. I would say I really like that a lot too. It's so easy. Could definitely be a mix of both of those styles. Like I can see that very easily, but it definitely leans towards the 70s, if I could say it like that. Having listened to both
Yeah,
decades extensively,
well,
as a fan.
yeah, I'm glad you're saying that because that's what I want. That's what I hope that people will understand is that while it's still got its energy levels, it's not Killer Bee.
Yeah, for sure. And even the logo for this too looks very 70s. The Syndicated Madness. Again, for people looking on video, there it is up top. I don't know how well they can see it. But the whole feel of it is very 70s. And then maybe a mix of the 80s choruses too in some places. But that's the impression I got when I've heard most of the album, is that this is
Well,
very
thanks.
throwback in a modern way with a good
Yeah,
production.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny. I just was popping up. We listened to Aerosmith on Friday. Went through the first up to draw the line all Friday
Yeah.
evening. And what great stuff it was. And I remember now being 12 and 13 and 14 and 15 and 16 and listening to Aerosmith in my basement bedroom, a little
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
side, a little weed and getting stoned with my buddies. And it was like, as soon as I put it on, I was just right back there again.
Yeah.
And the week before, we were listening to all the Sparks from Worth It, Roof, and Tweeter's Clothing all the way through to
Well,
to
yeah. It takes
Get
you
the
right back.
Beaver.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I don't think it's funny. You can put on music from way back then, and if you grew up with it, you can sing every song.
Yeah.
Every single. You know what's happening. You know when it's happening. You know what song's coming after each track on the album, even if you haven't put it on in 25 years. It's
Yeah.
like it.
It just
It's
comes right
great.
back to you. Yeah.
Yeah,
It just comes flooding back. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I'm hoping that people will get that. Those
Yeah.
that have heard Killer Bee, even though you said if we come on tour, we were to play there in that area, we might have to throw in some Killer Bee music. I think that's like that's going to be it for sure.
Yeah,
I don't.
that's par for the course for someone with a legacy that you have, with someone who has a former band and something that people know. Again, I don't know exactly which pockets you would say the Killer Bee was big in Canada, but I would assume Toronto on Eastern Ontario would be one since you're from there.
That's one. We have some Western sides as well, and
Yeah.
most of our North American was more across America than Canada. But I mean, Canada comes from probably from my past there.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, in the 90s, we had four of the five members were Canadian Torontonians.
Right.
You know,
Right. Yeah, that's true.
so that lends a lot in that area. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
The time I got left for you before this thing counts out, because I see another less than 9 minutes or 8 minutes left, because it's cheap free Zoom. This
No
stuff,
stress.
yeah, this stuff begs to be played live. I know you kind of touched on it, but do you think by the end of this year, 2023, you'll actually be able to put something together? And even if you played around Sweden or your local area or somewhere, do you think you'll be able to get on a stage, like physically on a stage somewhere and do something? Do you see that possible, or maybe into 2024?
I am speaking to the guys right now about putting it together, and I am speaking to some agents over here about trying to put this together and see how they feel about the project. As I said, we're not getting super numbers on YouTube. We don't have the big numbers of followers right now that Syndicated Madness should have, but I have my followers.
Well, yeah.
Um, they haven't really transferred over to the Syndicated Madness side of it yet. But I am speaking to some people, and some people over in America and some people over here. I don't know what's going to happen. It's really in early preliminary stages. But yeah, I do have some plans of wanting to get on a stage. Probably not festival season, but let's look around, the end of the summer, fall time. You
Okay.
know,
So that's coming, with the way things are, it's coming relatively soon if you're looking at it that way. So it could be sooner than you think that you're actually on a stage somewhere.
yeah, whether that means I do
Whether it
three
all
shows,
happens. Yeah.
300. Yeah, I mean, it's exactly.
Yeah.
It's like I say, it's a preliminary stages, and it is talking. I've been in touch with an agent over here that had done some work for us before, and he seemed interested. She seemed interested. Sorry, but we'll see what it leads to.
Oh, that
You
sounds
know.
good. I'm hoping for that if it happens too.
Yeah, me too. It's nothing like playing live. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one thing to say, okay, I'll get my production company, we'll build a stage out in the back field and do a yoo-hoo's live show, but
Which is cool. That should get some attention too if you put that out there. I mean, people want to see that. There's nothing wrong with that, but I guess, but of course, the stage, getting out there and playing in front of people, showing people that this exists out there is what's the goal, right?
yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
because people miss so
We
much
will.
when they just see it online. Yeah. And you mentioned working on some potentially more music under Syndicated Madness. Do you think the direction, if you were starting to work on that, or if you're about to, do you see it being the same direction, the same style? Do you see yourself taking it a little further, deeper in the '70s, a little bit into the '80s? Where do you see it going? Where's your head at musically? If you're writing new music,
Well, there's a couple of great covers that we got that we've completed. I'm not going to say what they are, but they're 70s, and there's some.
is it high class and borrowed shoes?
Actually, no, but that would be a great song to
Yeah.
do.
You probably don't remember. I asked you about that last time. If you would ever cover that, you said it was your favorite Max Webster song.
Yeah,
I
no,
never
but it is.
forgot that. It's the only thing I remember about you is that you.
No, but it is. But it is. It
Yeah,
really
yeah,
is. Yeah, and
yeah.
you never know if I
I'm
actually,
holding you to it if you don't. You said you were going to do it at some point. You said it was not out of the question, is what you told me.
and it still isn't out of the question.
There you
I've
go.
had in the back of my mind. I don't know if I took this with you before. Over here in Sweden, they call us Canadics, right?
What
Like
does that
we're
mean?
called. It's a Canadian, but but
Yeah.
in Swedish, we're a Canadic. So I wanted to do a record called Canadic Do That, and it was basically about us doing Canadian covers, right?
That's going to get some
Canadic
numbers.
do
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah. Kind of
Those
dicks
kind of
do.
kind
I love
of
it.
a
Is that
Swedish
how they
English.
pronounce Canada? Is that how they say it in Swedish, or is
No,
it
Canada they say Canada, but Canadian they say Canadic.
okay?
Yeah.
You teach me some
So
Swedish here. You speak fluent
uh,
Swedish too. You've been there for a long time. For those that don't know, right? You've been living there how
I've been
long?
here for 33 years.
Longer than you've been in Canada, almost.
It's basically,
Almost the
yeah. I
same.
left the
Yeah.
no, no, no. I left. Now I'm giving away my age. I left Canada when I was 10.
That's
No,
about right.
when I was 31. So
Yeah.
now this year it's 33 years. Yeah.
There you go.
So, but yo, we're
The
going
direction
back
of the
to
new one, yeah. You're
yeah,
for
the
original
direction.
music, you would say it's kind of the same thing, or
It's
similar, I
going to
should say,
be
not same.
similar. I think you might find that there'll be some more progressive sides. You might hear different influences that didn't come out on this one. There's some that are, I mean, I hate to pinpoint influences. I want people to do that themselves, so I'm not going to talk
Right.
about it. But you'll probably hear the same sort of influences that you hear on this, or so should we say, you'll probably hear distinct influences like you might hear on this one, but maybe different influences, but from the same era.
Yeah, I got you. That's a good way to describe it too.
Wow,
Okay,
I
so
got that out.
yeah, you're a good, your own press promo guy. You could do your own. You don't need to hire anybody for that. You can represent yourself.
Yeah,
Do your own
exactly.
copy. Do your own PR. It's perfect.
I wish it worked so easy.
It's so easy. The
But
the last thing I'll ask you then. So speaking of that video, it's not the end. I know you did a redo of it, but is the original one still out there on YouTube? Can people look at it since we talked about, or did you can that?
I took it down.
Okay. No one can see it again. If you saw it before, that's it.
I like they say, anything on the web is on the web. So I'm sure it can be found, but I wouldn't know where to look. But I did take it off of YouTube, so you can't find it like that. I don't know if you could see it. No, I don't think you can see
If someone saved it on their computer and reloaded it, I'm sure they could. It's possible if someone had interest to do that. Do you see yourself putting it back for comparisons or for as an artistic statement, or is it down for good in your opinion?
at that point when I was doing that, I was very frustrated with a lot of shit that was going on, and I realized that I was becoming a political advocate or whatever you want to call it, and I don't really like that. So I don't want to be political. I'd rather be fun. So therefore, I took it down. It
Hmm.
was the closest I've got to being political now was when the Ukraine and Russia shit started, and I did. There's a video on YouTube called "What's Going On." You might remember that song.
No, the Marvin Gaye cover.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
I don't know if you've seen the video or
I
not. I
didn't.
don't
I'll
know.
have to check that. If it's still on YouTube, I'll have a look.
Yeah, it's there. That's as far as I go, and that was basically because I just thought that that was just really bullshit, and it was current. What I did with the "It's Not the End" was going back to the early '90s, late '80s, and just drumming up old memories for people, and it wasn't worth it to me.
Hmm.
I thought it wasn't cool.
It's a great bombastic song. It was very powerful at that time too. I remember if I remember the video now in my head, I think there was it was in the field or something. There was a lot of running. There was the lyrics across, all the big words were going like genocide. Everything was going across the screen, if I
Yeah,
remember it correctly. So it was a big, bold statement. It was a big, epic song. So it was your first, I think, solo statement. It was very good musically, artistically, I would say.
the song's pretty much the same, just been remixed and remastered. But
Yeah.
like I said, I agree. It was a big statement, and at that I've always had a philosophy in my life that I don't think artists should influence people with their thoughts. I think artists should, if they have something to say, totally cool, but let people interpret it their own way.
Yeah.
Artists, musicians, actors, celebrities of any sorts, football stars, hockey stars, they have something to say, but they should keep it to themselves because I'm not saying I'm on any level like that, but if I was to say something that would cause somebody to think in the wrong way, I wouldn't want that, and
Mhm.
therefore I rather refrain from being too political.
Yeah, I hear you.
Mind you, like I said, I did What's Going On, and that's got a pretty bold statement to it.
Nothing wrong with that. Before I lose you, it's about to it's about to go down here. So Brian, I thank you for your time. We'll talk again. We'll get more
Yep.
detail, especially as things happen throughout the summer and fall. If you have shows coming up, if you have new music, I want to hear about it. I want to know about it. In the meantime, you're going to hear this bad boy all over Paradise City. And when people listen to this video, and hopefully they'll check Syndicated Madness out further. But appreciate digging into this with you and having your time, man.
All right, man. It's been cool. Glad to talk to you again.
It's so easy. Goddamn easy.